14.3, the origins of outliers. The number of property crime, such as theft, reports is collected for 50 colleges in California. Some summary stats are given. And thankfully, we do not need to type all these in. Although it would be considerably easier because there's no decimal places. However, they give us the 5-number summary plus the mean. They didn't give us the standard deviation, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. All right, are any of the values outliers? Explain or show your reasoning. So using what we know about how to calculate an outlier, are there any values in this table that would be considered an outlier? Specifically, which ones? All right, now think about that formula we used, right? Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. Is this the only method that we have for finding outliers? If everyone in the world is given, $50, and you're given $1, would you feel left out from everyone else? Well, I guess you'd feel left out if you were given any amount different. But outliers don't only have to be above the data set. They can also be below. Our mean and median are at, well, this is very skewed, but our mean's 191, our median's 107. Those are very far from 15. So I'm going to investigate also if there are any lower ones. So if I'm looking at lower ones, lower outliers, I wouldn't want to use Q3. I would want to use what? All right, I'd want to use Q1. We're also going to multiply the IQR by 1.5. That stays the same. But now, what is going to go in between Q1 and 1.5? We're going to want to subtract because we're going lower than Q1. So now I'm just going to plug numbers in. 260 plus 1.5 times my IQR would be 260 minus 52. And that's just really 208. So let's do the same thing here. 52 minus 1.5 times 208. All right, so let's see if we have any outliers in this data set. All right, 260 plus 1.5 times 260 minus 52, which you know to be 108. All right, we get 572. So what values do you see that would be considered outliers? So anything above 572, 593, 699, 768. Let's see if there are any lower bound outliers. So we got 52. Well, let me do it on the calculator. What am I doing? 52 minus 1.5, parentheses 208. Whoa. Oh, I put 25 instead of 52. However, we still get a crazy number, negative 260. Is there anything below negative 260 that would be considered an outlier? And no, there is not. So it's important, even though in this case it ended up being ridiculous how low it had to be an outlier below, there are plenty of times you'll get an outlier, right? What kind of distributions, what kind of skews might cause you to have an outlier that is very, very low? Right, hopefully you said skewed left, right? If we're going down, we're having very low values that could be outliers because they're very far away from the mean or median. All right, so are any of these values outliers? We already did that. If there are outliers, so the 3 that we circled, why do you think they exist? Should they be included in an analysis of the data? So we're talking about the number of property crime collected for 50 colleges in California. Do we think, or why do we think those numbers occurred? And should we include them? Right, so I don't want to give my opinion. I'm much more interested in hearing what you had to say. But, reasons why they could be higher. They could be near an area where more theft happens. If the area itself has a high crime rate, just because there's a college there is not necessarily going to change that for worse or better. So that might cause it. Some colleges are way off in the middle of nowhere. So if you're in the middle of nowhere where it's just a college, you might not have people coming onto campus who don't belong there. So maybe these occur in a city where you have a much denser population, so there's going to be more crime naturally. It's only realistic. Right? These could be bigger colleges. This could be like a really small school. These could be from giant universities. When you have a giant university, some of them are almost their own mini cities. You know, the school I went to, SUNY Binghamton, had I think like 16,000 people in the school, which is humongous. That's not including staff or the people who work there. That's just students, so that's a lot of people. All right, should they be included? Absolutely. If you're trying to see how schools in California compare to other states, like there are cities in every state. If you're trying to get a good idea of small colleges or medium-sized or large colleges, I would section it off maybe that way, where I have small, medium, and large. I would organize it that way, because comparing the crime in a small college to a college right in New York City maybe, or I guess in LA in this case, that's not a good comparison, because you're gonna have very different ways of life there. So I don't think they're worth comparing. So that's what I would do. But maybe I'm looking forward to see what you guys thought would be good. All right, number 2. The situations described here each have an outlier. For each situation, how would you determine if it is appropriate to keep or remove an outlier when analyzing the data? Discuss your reasoning with your partner. So A, we have a number cube being rolled where the sides are 1 through 6. Tyler rolls 15 times, and this is his data. Are there any outliers, and should we remove them? Well, this one really has nothing to do with math, right? This has to do with something went wrong. Something happened to Tyler. I don't know if maybe someone poked him in the eye and he wrote down 20 or something, but if you're rolling a die with numbers 1 through 6, it's impossible to get 20, right? If he wrote 7, you would be freaking out saying, how'd you get 7 on a 6-sided die? Something's wrong with you. So I don't even need to check mathematically if it's an outlier, because mathematically, I don't know if 7 would be an outlier. It might not be. If Q1 is like 1.5 and Q3 is 4.5, yeah, 7 could totally be, actually, 7 might, let's check that. That's interesting. Let's see if it's even possible to get an outlier in this data set. So, let's say, yeah, Q1 is 1.5, Q3 is 4.5, and my median seems to be 3. Well, I don't even need that, but 4.5 plus 1.5 times 3, my IQR. Oh, actually, 7 would not be considered an outlier mathematically. It'd have to be above 9. So that's sort of an interesting example where you have to think about it in a real world situation. It doesn't matter if it's an outlier mathematically. It does not matter. All right, B. The dot plot represents the distribution of the number of siblings reported by a group of 20 people. So should this be an outlier? Well, let's see the IQ. I'm just going to estimate the IQR because it's going to take a lot of time, and they just want you to discuss this. Well, actually, I guess they're saying there is an outlier. So is it appropriate to keep 12? Well, I could see you arguing either way for this. I think it would be fair to argue yes or no. You could say yes, it's a family, they count. Even if they have 12 kids, that's still a human family. Some people have giant families, so why should we not include them? I could also see this number bringing the mean up like dramatically. And if you want to find the typical number of people in a household, and they say 4 or number of siblings, because that 12 brings the mean up all the way over here, that's not a very good telling of what to expect. The median here would be much more reliable. So, I mean, if you know to choose the median over the mean, then I guess you'd be okay. But this is like a huge outlier. So it's bad to judge what's going to typically happen off an outlier. Good to know outliers happen. Good to know it's a possibility. But if you're looking for something typical, it's better to plan for the typical to happen. All right. In a science class, we've got 12 students are synthesizing biodiesel. At the end of the experiment, each group recorded the mass in grams of the biodiesel they synthesized. the mass of the biodiesel are, the masses of the biodiesel are 0, 1.245, 1.292. I'm not going to read them all. You take a look. So where's the outlier, and does it belong or not? All right, so 0 in this case is the outlier. So I'm going to assume that these biodiesels are the same type of material, so they should be around the same weight. If you're getting a weight of something that most people are getting at least a gram for, and you're getting a weight of nothing, you probably made some sort of mistake. So I'm going to assume this is a mistake, just because it's so much different than anything else here. Like just like 12, it's an extreme outlier. I assume there's a mistake. Here, you could probably have a family of 12 people. It's not a mistake. But here, someone probably made a mistake. All right, that is all for lesson 14. Have a great day.